And welcome to the Dublin Arsenal podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Giles, as always. On this week's show, we'll be reviewing our 2-2 draw away to Chelsea and looking ahead to our upcoming fixtures against Sevilla in the Champions League tomorrow night and Sheffield United on Saturday. Also on the show, we'll look back at our women's away win at Bristol City, courtesy of our very own Katie McCabe, who scored 2 wonder strikes. So sit back and enjoy the show. On this week's show, I'm joined by lifelong Gooners and season ticket holders, Eamonn Donnelly and Brendan Boyle. How are you, lads?
Good evening, Jonathan. I have a chicken stew on there. I learned it off the recipe off Fanny Craddock. Now we're grand, we're good. Bit of a strep throat, but we'll get through it. We'll soldier through in the name of the podcast, you know. All good.
The warrior that Eamonn is, he'll soldier on, no bother. Thanks for joining me, lads.
Nothing's going to take me down.
How are you, Brendan? Are you well?
Yeah, all good, thanks, John.
Cheers for coming on, pal.
Better than Eamonn by the sounds of it, anyway.
Yeah.
You look and sound better as well, Brendan. So there you go. You should be on the cover of Vogue magazine for the Dublin Arsenal podcast.
He's wearing a dodgy Ernest oil tracksuit there. I mean,
we can't all be perfect, exactly. No, thanks, lads, for coming on this week. Appreciate it as every week. Bit of good news as well. We'll have our UK-based schooner, Carl Ozzy Osborne, back in November. So I hope you're keeping well, Ozzy. His mother-in-law is doing very well in health update, Henry. So that's good to hear. So best wishes to all concerned there, and we're looking forward to having you back, Ozzy. We kick into this week's show, so as always, with the review of the weekend's game, which was on Saturday evening, 2-2 draw against Chelsea. Goals from Chelsea was the penalty by Cole Palmer, and Mudryk got the second for Chelsea early in the second half, and both her own goals came in a 7-minute period. In the 77-minute, Declan Rice pounds upon Robert Sanchez's mistake in goal from Chelsea, and Leandro Trossard scored a beauty from Bukayo Saka's cross and was there at the near post to finish off well. A game which we look like to get nothing out of and somehow snatch the point. That shows what real title contenders we are. Because you can sense the optimism in the room here. Few notes I made, lads. On 7 minutes, there was a yellow card for Cole Palmer on a nasty tackle on Gabriel Jesus on his ankle, which was quite nasty and it was dirty. Probably lucky to get a yellow card. If that was more into the game, who knows, probably a possible red. And then in the 11th minute, of course, was Chelsea's first goal, Mudryk, when his header came off Saliba's arm and given through VAR as usual. But if you can't raise your arm when you're going for the header, which is a natural instinct, I think, you know, what can you do, you know? Again, VAR have to clear up these rules, you know. It's in one game they're giving it, in another game they're not. And I think this is just going to be, I think we'll be talking about this throughout the season, you know, these decisions. But Cole Palmer converted it well, and that was 1-0. Declan Rice in the 20-minute missed narrowly with his right foot, with a right footed shot past the post. But Chelsea played really well in the first half, in fairness to them, and Zinchenko thought had a stinker in the first half, and he was taken off for the second half. 3 minutes in, Mudryk scored through a lob over David Raya. His positioning was pretty poor. I think it was more of a cross for Sterling, but I thought his distribution is really woeful lately, Raya. I don't know, because he's making mistakes, is he just nervous? You know, he's great at coming out for crosses and, you know, shot stopping, but distribution wise and the ball at his feet, he looked all over the place again, and he gave the ball away to Palmer. in the 56 minutes, and that could have he hit shot wide, but could easily have been another one, and that could have been game over 3-0. Thankfully, we kept at it. I thought the substitutions were quite good, you know. And Sanchez's poor pass out was pounced on by Rice, as I said, who took his goal well. 7 minutes later, of course, Trossard, he's becoming a vital player, and as a sub, I think we'll all agree he's getting important goals. And he took his chance well. And Ketty had a chance then, I think, a couple of minutes after they went past the post. But overall, I think, well, you know, you could say, well, hard-earned point, but I'll take a point at the Bridge, considering it was a pretty poor performance from us. It was a miserable night, weather-wise as well, at the Bridge. But we're still unbeaten after 9 games in. Level on points with City. And we go into the Sheffield United game at home, you know, in pretty still good shape. I'll come to you, Eamon. I know you were with your band at the weekend, but what did you make of the performance on Saturday?
Yeah, well, I watched the first half that happened. Had the experience of listening to the second half on 5 Live, and then watched the entire game back on Sunday. So I've seen as much as I need to see. First of all, it's amazing that we go away to Chelsea and they play in what they now call a low block in their own pitch. So they were waiting to draw us in. I think their midfield too was on top in the first half, Chelsea. But I think our players were on top of each other a little bit in that we were doing that slow passing thing, trying to get it to Martinelli, Saka. I think Ben White and Zinchenko were too close to them, and there was very little space to move the ball around. That was the first thing. The second thing is we weren't at it. We were terrible. We just weren't at it, you know. But there were some mitigating circumstances. One of which was Cole Palmer should have been sent off. If Curtis Jones gets sent off for going into a tackle where he slips over the ball and connects with somebody, this fella just connected with Gabriel Jesus when he's behind the player and the ball isn't to be seen. So it was a free shot. It was a free kick. You know, a free kick at Jesus' ankle. It wasn't as if he went for the ball and missed it. And it was an absolute disgrace. Right? That being said, we don't get them. But if that had been Granit Xhaka, guess what would have happened? Okay. Second thing is, what's his name? That cockroach, Cucaracha, or whatever the hell he is.
He was kicking lumps out of Saka, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, Saka gave a bit back in the second half. But I have to say, I've said on this show about 6 times, I am sick and tired of the brutalisation of Saka. Now, I know sometimes he sits down and looks at the linesman, but one of these days, he's going to become Michael Douglas in Falling Down. And to take out an Uzi and say, I'm supposed to be the bad guy, he is getting brutalised. It's absolutely disgraceful. How it took so long for that twit with the long hair to get booked, I don't know. The penalty that we conceded was a penalty. Like, Saliba handled the ball. But the problem is not the decision. The problem is the rule. It's absolutely shocking. The rule, you know, according to the rule, that's a penalty. But the rule is an absolute ass.
Do you think, Eamon, do you think that was deliberate by Saliba, or do you think he?
No, of course it wasn't deliberate.
Yeah.
He's trying to propel himself. I mean, his alternative is to be like something of Monty Python's In Search of the Holy Grail. We are the Knights of Nicked. You know, all of you. You can't do it. If you're trying to do, he's coming from behind the player. So therefore, in order to get any leverage into any kind of air, he's got to put his hand out.
Yeah.
You know? And unfortunately, the decision according to the rule was correct, but the rule is absolutely shocking, and the legislators who make those rules don't understand football. Full stop. Right? It's like a board game, and we do this year and blah blah.
Yeah.
The penalty we didn't get was as bad. The goalkeeper's nowhere near the ball. He's just come out and cleaned the centre forward. You tell me that's not a penalty. A joke.
Yeah.
But that being said, all of those things were just parts. The game itself, we were poor in the first half. We weren't at it. We lost. I think it was we lost something like 55% of the duels in the first half. Or no, sorry, we won only 41% of the duels in the first half. We won 55% of them in the second half, right? So that tells me, I know the home crowd are up for it and all that, but they're the useless home crowd. They're crap, right? Our away crowd is as noisy as their home crowd. But we just weren't at it in the first half. They were well organised and well structured. Now, they're beginning to do something on the Pochettino in terms of organisation. They will trouble teams, right? The second half starts. The Mudryk goal is a fluke, a complete fluke. He's looking at the centre forward, and he's done what I can only describe as like my first pitch and put tee off down in Talca Park. He's completely shanked it, right? But I don't know what Raya was doing at the near post. There's no danger there.
Yeah, I don't.
So he's got lost all at sea.
Yeah.
And he got lost at sea against Tottenham as well when he got caught under the crossbar and led to their first goal. So he needs to correct that. I'm not so down on Raya for his distribution. That's the game he's been asked to play. You know, I don't think Ramsdale's distribution is any better whatsoever. Think back to Southampton, which I think was a turning point for Ramsdale's career, by the way. So, but I think with all that bad stuff, we responded well. The substitutes made a difference. We responded well. But one thing I noticed was in the second half, the fullbacks weren't right on top of Martinelli or Saka. So there's a bit more room there. And we were able to get the ball out to them a bit better. And in the second half, we were on top, you know. We had less possession, but with more useful possession. We looked like hurting them. Rice's goal, apart from the great finish, but if you look at the still of when Gallagher was about to receive the ball, Declan's about 8 yards behind him. But he just decided he wanted that ball and he came in and got it, caught Gallagher flat-footed, made a split-second decision, and that changed everything. And from there on in, we were the better team and actually could have won the game. Trossard's finish for the second goal, my God, it is absolutely beautiful. But fair play to Ben White. Ben White had a crap game all day, but he was involved in two things for that goal. The little pinger of a pass he put into Havertz for the start was brave and controlled. But then he goes on this big turning run down on the overlap, which actually gave Saka the room to do what he could do.
Yeah.
And from there on in, we could have won the game. But look, a draw away at Chelsea is not a bad result. A draw away at Chelsea when you're 2-0 down and could capitulate, but we didn't. And when you talk about title contenders, we are 6-3-0 in terms of wins, draws, and losses, and that is not too bad for a team that hasn't really started playing yet.
Yeah,
we haven't started playing yet. There's much more to come from us, I think. You know, so from that point of view, it was a bit like a win. A shout out to Tomiyasu, who changed an awful lot. He was a shout for man of the match for the way he steadied that position up, you know. So that's my thoughts on it, you know.
Who was your man of the match?
Well, Declan Rice is going to be the man of the match all day long. He won the ball so many times in their half, right? And in fairness to Smith Rowe, he won a lot of ball back as well when it mattered. But I think the impact that Tomiyasu had on the game, the way the game was going, was absolutely huge, you know. Declan Rice, to me, that's a man of the match performance, but followed closely by Tommy Essett.
Yeah, I'd probably give it to Declan Rice. That was pretty much in the second half. Yeah. Brandon, welcome back to the show. As always. What did you make of the game? You were in the river with your son. It was a rocking atmosphere from the 77 minute onwards, as you said. But what did you make of the game as a whole, Eamonn? Or sorry, Brandon?
Well, Eamonn's covered everything I was going to say, so I'll leave now. No,
cheers, thanks for coming on, Brandon.
yeah, bye. No, one of the things that I said a couple of times to people was that if this game had been played in the dry, I think we'd have won by about 2 clear goals easily. The pitch was horrendous. From where I was looking at it, it looked like it wasn't very far from being called off. Now I know that pitch is renowned for getting, for not receiving the rain very well. I think they put it, but I think Zinchenko gave the ball away in our box in the first minute or so, and our passes weren't crisp because they couldn't really be crisp. Because anyone that's played in those sort of conditions will know that you've got to put some serious oomph into a ball, and it took us such a long time to actually fathom that out. And I think it pretty much took us till half time. We were all over the place. I just thought it was such a bad performance. And our midfield was at 6s and 7s. Like Odegaard was our furthest player forward a lot of times. Jorginho was out on the left. Rice was out on the right. And there was nobody in the middle. They had 2 guys sitting in the middle, like Enzo and Conor Gallagher. And they were just controlling stuff. We just looked like we didn't want to be there. And I thought it's just going to be a horrible, horrible day. But the halftime substitution of Tomiyasu, as Eamonn said, had a massive, massive impact on the game, I think. And that was the defensive side of things sorted. The midfield were a little bit better. They got on the ball, but I think that helped by Chelsea kicking the ball away nearly every time they received it, especially the goalkeeper. The amount of times the ball went straight through to Raya or through to the centre halves, it played basically into Arsenal's hands. And even though we didn't look, I thought Saka was really poor. Jesus didn't do anything. Martinelli looked busy, but again, wasn't really, if he went past anybody, there was nobody in the box. So I wasn't too hopeful that we were going to get anything out of it until Rice popped up with that goal. What a finish. Absolutely brilliant. And the more you see it, the more you study it, the more impressive it is. And as I say, I thought the substitutions were fabulous. They really, he put the cavalry on and we hammered them for the rest of the game. And Trossard again, beautiful finish, as Eamonn was saying. He hasn't been fit. Like I read an article from Arteta earlier on today saying that he hasn't started games because he hasn't been ready to start games, which is fair enough. But bringing him off the bench, he's absolutely on fire. So, I don't think I watched a few Chelsea games leading up to this game, and they have been getting better and better. And I do think they will take points off a lot of teams, and I think they'll improve. So I would have bit your hand off with 20 minutes to go for a point because I thought it was so not going to happen. And but it shows the character. As you said, could have won it in the end. Really, really proud of them. I'll step back on the Raya situation again. As we were saying, he's meant to have been brought in for his distribution. His distribution, I think, is one of the weakest parts of his game, from what I can see. It's coming for crosses, and his behaviour at corners, where I thought Ramsdale was getting bullied, is the only positive I can see there. I can't see a better goalkeeper than Aaron Ramsdale at the moment with Raya. It doesn't. I think as playing as a defender, if you, Eamonn, I imagine, would know this. If you're confident in your goalkeeper, it gives you a little bit more confidence to play. And I think if you're not confident in your goalkeeper, that passes through the whole team. Now, I don't know whether that's happening or not, but I know it's happening in the crowd. Like every time he takes 2 touches on a ball, my heart's in my mouth. I don't feel confident, and I'm pretty sure that's going back through the defenders. Now, if Arteta obviously wants him and wanted him previously, but I don't see it. So hopefully I'm proved wrong, but at the moment I don't see it. So
I think it's lucky it's only a loan move because, it's hard to know what Arteta's thinking is, because I think, I know, as Eamonn said, near the back end of last season, Ramsdale did make a few howlers distribution-wise, the Southampton game is one, but I think he had a lot of personal things as well you have to take on board as well, as he said. I think it was a deserted this season. He came out and said it. But I have a feeling he'd probably be in for the game tomorrow night against Sevilla. Do you think so, Brendan?
I don't know. One of the things that I do agree with the Raya signing, because I don't think Matt Turner was ever pushing him, or any other goalkeeper we've had has been pushing him, with the exception of Leno, obviously, who was going anyway. Yeah. But I think you bring in a far better quality goalkeeper in David Raya, and that's only going to improve Ramsdale. Now, Ramsdale's only 24 still, I believe. So he's going to make mistakes. It's a baby in terms of goalkeeping age. So somebody that's going to push him, make him look back on himself and his mistakes and his errors. But, Raya's getting caught in possession every game.
Every game, yeah.
And he's got to wait.
Hold on a second. Go back to the Nottingham Forest game, first game of the season. Ramsdale almost got caught in possession of his own goal line. So I don't think Ramsdale's distribution is in any way better than Raya's, or his calmness on the ball. So what is the other parts? The other parts is, as you said quite rightly, Brendan, Raya doesn't get bullied on set pieces.
Yeah.
You actually have confidence that he's going to come. And I also think that I think that Ramsdale has a very weak left hand, and I've said this on many.
You've said this on many.
He's a weak left hand.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much in between them. And really, to be honest with you, I think they're 2 very good goalkeepers. I mean, every goalkeeper has flaws. Sure, look at Declan Rice's goal. Chelsea bought that goalkeeper to do all sorts of things, and he gives the ball. He gives a bad ball out, But anyway, I don't think it really matters who's in goal for us. The only bit I'd say that Raya has over Ramsdale is that my heart is not in my mouth every time there's a corner kick.
Yeah, he scored it.
Which is true.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a difficult call. My only question mark with Raya is that he's been playing in front of 20,000 people every week for a home game. Every time they play at home, he's under zero pressure. He's 3rd choice goalkeeper for Spain. No pressure. He doesn't really get very many games, if any. Now he's in front of 60,000 people. He's in a pressure cauldron.
Yeah.
Are we going back? Are we going back to Fabianski? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
He was a very, very good goalkeeper, but couldn't handle the pressure.
Yeah. Maybe. But I'm going to buy him a Garmin for Christmas.
Pardon?
I'm going to buy him a Garmin for Christmas. I mean, that's twice he's got caught under his crossbar, not knowing where he is.
Yeah. And and when he makes a mistake, he knows he's made it, and he gets more nervous in the next one, doesn't he? But hey, look, I think you have to give him time, don't you? He's, as Eamonn says, there's not much between the two of them, really, is there? No.
But one of the things you've got to be aware of is Ramsdale's a crowd favourite.
Yeah.
Now,
and a Sky TV favourite because he's English.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you've got the situation of nearly every Arsenal fan wants Ramsdale back in goal. Now, are they going to start getting on his case, Raya? Which again piles the pressure back on top of him. So hopefully that's not going to happen. But you don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. It's a big pressure position.
Okay,
and always has.
Just to finish this particular part of the discussion, what I loved about Raya, and I love Ramsdale as well, I loved about Raya was after the scared and Raj, that was the first 20 minutes against Man City. He really did recover himself. He did. He recovered himself. So I think that's a good sign, you know.
On Saturday, he was excellent for the last 20, 25 minutes. Really, really good.
Was, he does recover well in parts of the game after making a mistake, and like we fended off Spurs for him as well. You know, there's a lot of clubs in for him as well, and you know he came to us. You know, but look, we have to give him time. You know, like it's easy to jump on the bandwagon. You know, it'd be interesting to see who's in goal tomorrow night. I think. You know, I think Ramsdale probably fancies himself tomorrow night, and I'd probably like to see him back in goal maybe tomorrow night. You know, but we see what happens there.
Well, I'd like to see him back in goal tomorrow night, simply because if you're going to have two top-class goalkeepers, they need to get minutes.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
but just while I was just standing up there, I remembered back to Jens Lehmann. To my mind, our greatest ever goalkeeper, and he had a reputation for doing mad things. That's because he was way ahead of his time. He was the first of these sweeper keepers.
Yeah,
I remember one game against Spartak Moscow, the year of the Invincibles, when he actually got caught in possession outside his own box and was rolled into an empty net. You know, if you have the bravery, as Jens obviously did, mentally, you'll recover. You know.
Yeah. Well, we'll watch this space and see what happens.
Yeah.
It's a curious one. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, there's a lot of games to get through this season. I'm sure both will have equal opportunity to test themselves. Yeah, for that number one jersey. Competition is healthy, as they say. Brandon, who stood out for you on Saturday for the Gunners?
Similar to Eamonn, Declan Rice, as in every game. Declan Rice is the man that just steps up to the plate. He's like an 8 out of 10 every game. I'll just, to be different, I'll give it to Tomiyasu because of I think the impact he had when he came on. Yeah,
it was good to see Eamonn Smith-Rowe getting more minutes under his belt as well, isn't it? It's nice to see him back, you know. And Eddie Ketty had a bit about him when he came on as well. Probably unlucky not to get one after the second goal. You know, it was just went across Sanchez's post. You know, he looked a bit hungry there when he came on. I thought he's done all right this season again.
And the other thing is about Eddie, he also went over the top on the basis that, well, if they can get away with it, I'm going to get away with it. He has a bit, as Johnny would say, he has a bit of the devil in him there. He has. There's a little bit of spite in Eddie, and I like that, you know.
Yeah.
You need that as a centre forward against some nasty centre half division.
Yeah, you do. He's got a bit of bite about him, yeah.
I was delighted to see Smith-Rowe getting on when he did, because it means that the manager is beginning to trust him again.
Yeah.
I don't know how true this is, but I understand from pretty good sources that there's been a couple of lifestyle issues again. So, you know.
Yeah, he's got the tannin, Smith-Rowe, you know. I think Arsenal see that in him. He just has to brush up a bit. But as we all know, Arteta won't take any messing, you know. If you're not willing to pull together, you know, pull into this, what he's trying to do, the door's there for him.
He's a player I like, and he's a player that we need, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's one of our own, isn't he? Yeah.
We need that.
It's Brandon and Eamonn, they're one of our own on this show.
Well, I mean, you can do all that one of our own jingoistic stuff if you want. The question to my mind is, what's he like in an Arsenal jersey? He's a very, very talented boy. He unlocks things when they're hard to unlock.
Do you think
I understand that he hadn't been behaving. I understand that he hadn't been behaving himself lately. That's my understanding, which would explain his lack of minutes. But if that's ironed out, I mean, if Arteta wouldn't give him a half an hour against Chelsea if that matter hadn't been resolved. That's the first thing. The other thing I meant to say on my main observation of the match, Martin Odegaard is beginning to remind me of Peter Beardsley. in that Peter Beardsley was a brilliant player.
More handsome version.
More hands. I was definitely more handsome version. You know, it's like it's like Aha versus the Sex Pistols. You know what I mean? But they used to say about Peter Beardsley, you knew after 5 minutes if he was going to have a shanker of a game, and I could see after 5 minutes he wasn't going to play well. But I was very interested to hear what Brendan said about that pitch being horrendous, because I was watching it on the laptop, the one I'm on now, for the first half, because I was getting ready to go gigging and stuff. And I actually thought the ball was moving so slowly. I thought I was having Jonathan Giles problems with my broadband, you know? And
that's how we learn now, baby.
But that explains it. So you're saying, Brendan, you've compared to me now, the ball was actually moving slowly, you know? Yeah.
There's Eamonn. Thanks for the compliment on the laptop. That's another P45 I'll have to issue at the end of the show.
No, I'm using them as wallpaper.
Toilet paper, you mean?
Yeah. No, I'm going to upgrade it.
Yeah.
I write these contracts very carefully, Brandon. Excuse yourself. There's so many loopholes in them. No, yeah, it was a great look from 2-0 down to get a draw. You know, it looked like, to be honest, we weren't going to get anything out of it at one stage in the second half, you know, but the fighting spirit is there, isn't it? Like, we've seen it over and over. Yeah.
Late goals. I think it came up on Sky during the game that we'd scored the most late goals this season, or after 95, actually, 80 minutes or whatever it was. So
yeah.
Yeah,
it's the anniversary of the Invincible season this year, so you know there might be sprinkles of magic. You know, we're still unbeaten, and as long as this crowd tonight get beaten by Fulham, we keep that intact for another week. The result leaves us level now with Man City on 21 points each, and that moves us on to Saturday's fixture against Sheffield United. 3:00 kickoff on Premier Sports. I know you two are heading to it as well, lads. Sheffield United are the opponents. Rock bottom with 1 point. You know, they're pretty much a championship team in the Premier League, aren't they? You know, they haven't really added quality. The owners haven't given Heckenbottom really much. They sold, I think, 2 of their best players, Sanderberg to Burnley, and Endai, I think his name is, to Marseille in the French league. So those are 2 best players gone. You probably expect him to go down. You know, there's nothing really you could see. They're injury prone as well. He's had a lot of injuries as well. And Chris Basham had a bad one against Fulham there a couple of weeks ago where he broke his ankle, you know. So being at home, you'd expect Arsenal to put 4 or 5 past them. You know, it'd be going for 4 or 5 nil in this one, you know. But in the Premier League, you never know if you know, it's always one thing or another against you. But I know you two are going to it, lads. You can only expect a home victory, really. I'd go for a comfortable 2 or 3 nil, you know, and just get another 3 points and a clean sheet and keep the pressure on City at the top. Eamonn, how do you think the game will go yourself?
Just listening to you there. The last time I was on the programme with Brendan, we were actually discussing how we can't keep a clean sheet at home. You know?
Yes,
and it took us to come up against Man City for us to have to do something different to be able to keep that clean sheet, right?
Yeah.
That's number one. So, we against weaker teams, we tend not to keep clean sheets. You know what you're going to get from them. They're a weird team. I mean, they push Man City all the way. They push Man United all the way. They shipped 8 against Newcastle, you know, so you don't know what they're going to get. Look, I can't see anything other than Arsenal win. And I don't want to sound, I say 3 or 4-1 would be more likely, I think.
Yeah, you'd expect to. Yeah, they're getting some real spankings, aren't they, in the league? Newcastle 8-0 being one of them.
Yeah, but you see. But again, they didn't get spanked by Man City or Man United, you know?
Yeah, as you said, when they're facing the tougher teams, they play a certain way,
Correct.
don't he? Yeah, you can.
Newcastle have scored in quick scores, you know.
And Forest, do you think the way they played, that
It's not
no,
good.
I think Forest have a bit more about them, though, you know.
yeah, player wise, yeah, they've a bit more talent there, all right. I mean, yeah. I think John Egan's out as well. He's a good defender as well. For Sheffield. Brendan, you're going heading to the game as well. How do you see the game going yourself?
Yeah, likewise. It's my biggest issue, as Eamonn said earlier, and we spoke on a previous show, was our lack of clean sheets against not just top opposition, any opposition. We seem to shoot ourselves in the foot, constant, and make it real hard work for us. And you can't blame the crowd. The crowds, the fans, the atmosphere has been amazing at all the home games.
Yeah.
So the crowd are right behind the players. Maybe that just gives them that little bit of blaseness to sort of think they can, pirouette here, there, and everywhere, rather than just, get the job done and then fantasy down about. But yeah, I think Sheffield United are one of the worst teams that have come up, and I know, like, I was listening to their manager have a bit of a chat, and like a lot of his top players are injured. They've had really bad injuries.
Yeah.
So we've got, we've more or less got a full squad. So obviously, depending on how it goes tomorrow night in Seville, it shouldn't really be a game that we should be overly worried about. But that's always what worries me about Arsenal.
Yeah, don't put the mockers on it, Brandon.
not I never gamble on Arsenal because that's,
it's not an arse thing to do.
Superstition.
Yeah.
So, they've cost me a lot of money over the years, so wouldn't touch them. But yeah, no, I think it should be 2-goal margin, definitely. Hopefully a good strong win. It'd be nice to get 4 or 5, get that goal difference up, but we tend not to do that. That's this team. So our goals all come from midfield or from the wingers. We don't get too many from big strapping centre forwards, which would be nice if one of them, whoever starts, could stick a hat trick in or something, just for the confidence side of things. Yeah,
it'd be nice to get a win heading into the next league game away to Newcastle. It'd be nice to get just 3 points, because that's going to be a very very tough game, I think, at St James's this time around. They're starting to come into a nice bit of form, Newcastle, which is worrying. But we won 2-0 there last season, so another screamer from Odegaard would be nice. As we speak, Spurs have taken the lead 1-0. So the pressure's on again. But the title is ours. They're paying out.
They're going to run out. They're going to run out of squad, folks. Relax.
Hardy Kane is coming to the Arsenal, lads. No, hopefully I think we're going to win the treble this year. I just have that feeling. In the end, we probably finish 6th or something. That moves us on to the Champions League match tomorrow night, lads. The table as it stands is Lens are top of 4. We're in second ourselves on 3. Sevilla with 2 and Eindhoven with 1. This was the club where Jose Reyes played for both teams. His son signed a contract there, Jordan de Week, there last week for Real Madrid, his first playing contract. So hopefully he goes on to do good things like his dad did. A few key players for Sevilla of note. Youssef En-Nesyri, the Moroccan striker, played well in the World Cup for them. Rakitic played for Barca. Fernando, we probably remember from his days as Man City. In midfield, Jesus Navas and Sergio Ramos, 2 veterans there. Ocampos is a winger, tricky enough, and Mariano Diaz, who's a tricky enough striker as well. These away games are like we found out against Lens. I thought we probably would have got 3 points there at Lens, and we came a bit of a cropper in that game. So home, you'd expect us home form wise in the Champions League to get 3 from 3, and that's where qualification to the next round should come from. Sevilla, it's the Champions League nights. You kind of throw your league form out the window, don't you? They're 14th in the league, but the Champions League is another. As Eamonn says, it's probably easier to win the Champions League than it is to win your league. I'll come to you, Eamonn. How do you see the game yourself?
Well, we need the point.
Yeah.
Because we cannot depend on winning our 3 home games or our remaining 2 home games. Because the Lons game, we were so good for a half an hour, but we were playing Man City the following weekend. And I think it got so easy for us that we just reversed a couple of gears, and it's very hard, if you drop it down, you can't pick it back up again. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it. You can't.
You can't.
So I think the last time we played Sevilla, they absolutely murdered us over there. I mean, I think we lost 2-1, but we were 2-0 down, and really, but that was knockout football. That's different.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah,
that's different. That was in the Europa League. So look, we're good enough to go over there and win, and we're good enough to go over there and get a point. And no disrespect to Sheffield United, but they're not Man City. So I think we have the room to go out and give this a good go and see, can we get the point or the 3 points that it is. I predict the draw on this one.
Yeah.
They're not better than us. We're better than them.
Yeah. Yeah, the Ramon Sanchez stadium can be hostile. It was one of those grounds where the away fans. As a typical Eamonn dummy.
Hostile the year. I mean, hostile. I mean, Jesus Christ. Go to Stoke and you'll know what hostile is,
Go down to Danny Park and that's hostile.
Well, Johnny Jones used to say, we never heard the crowd. They're not playing the game. There's not one of them kicking the ball there. Hostile the arse. If you're a professional footballer and you're only good, that's only noise,
They're not playing the game. I like that. He came out with some bangers, Johnny Jones, didn't he? Yeah, actually, Eamonn was at the Liam Brady launch, listeners, on Thursday, wasn't it? The book was released, yeah. Brandon, how do you see the game going tomorrow night yourself?
Well, it's a tough one. We've given ourselves a little bit of a bridge to overcome, seeing as we got beat by Lons there the last time out. We had everything against us. The crowd, as Eamonn said, I think we took it a little bit too casually. We also had City the weekend, as he said. But it happens. This team, this squad, haven't played Champions League football before. They played Europa League football, and they weren't very good at that either. So it's to expect them to hit the ground running with some tricky enough away games is a lot to ask for. Hopefully, as you say, look, Lons are mid-table in France. Sevilla are mid-table in Spain.
Yeah,
we're at the top in England, so we are a better side. We have a better squad. We are fortunate that we are playing a lower team at the weekend, but he has the chance to go out and put a full strength team out against them and go for it. And if we do, that gives us a little bit of a buffer. I think what I said is if you win your home games and draw one away game, you're pretty much through. So we have suffered at home in Europe. As I'm saying, this team have to step up to the mark in Europe, which they haven't done before. So hopefully, at least the minimum we need to come away with is a point, just to keep Sevilla down where they are. But I think we're good enough to win, and I'd be hoping that we'd be going out looking for a win.
Well, Brendan, going out looking for a win, I think it's in Arteta's DNA to do that, particularly with the Sheffield United fixture at the, he might have been tempted to kind of, he won't go half measure for this. He'll go all over.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think he has that in him, like Wenger. Wenger would be like, we go out and we play to win, and that's Arteta's exactly the same. And I think that's what a lot of fans want. Like, I think we're able to see games out a little bit better, but I don't think we can ever go out and play for a point.
No.
And he'll be going for it, and why wouldn't he be?
Yeah.
So, go for it. Give it what you
2-1 to the Arsenal then, yeah? 2-1 to the Arsenal?
5-0.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd go. I think I'd probably
5-0.
go.
Have you been hanging around with a Emil Smith-Rowe lately or something?
It's that lifestyle Brendan leaves as well.
I wish.
I think I go with Eamonn. I think a draw would be nice, you know, to take from Sevilla. A
draw would from the mechanics of where the table sits.
Yeah,
a draw does you.
Yeah.
Well, but a win would be put you in the sweet spot. You're all looking. If they win tomorrow night,
I'd be disappointed. I'd be disappointed with a draw. Put it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Brendan, equally, if you win tomorrow night, you're all but qualified. You know.
Yeah.
You're qualified if you win tomorrow night. You know?
Yeah. We'd be the strongest team in the group, with no disrespect to the others. You know, we've the strongest squad, and these are the nights where I find Gabriel Jesus, you know, he kind of lights up. You know, after the 4-0 against Eindhoven, the squad are relishing just being back in the Champions League after the 7 years out. You know, so I'd probably go for a draw, being honest, but I take a victory, away from especially arenas like that in Sevilla. That's an 8 o'clock kickoff tomorrow night. Brings us on to the Women's Super League. Our very own Katie McCabe scored 2 screamers last night against Bristol City. Foreigners got the goal for Bristol City. It was a good header as well. I know Katie McCabe's up for the Ballon d'Or, the women's one. And she scored a screamer against Villa there last Sunday as well. So we won 2-1 there. 7 points now, coming into a bit of form now. After four matches now. Did you see any of the match yourself, lads?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you make of it, Eamonn?
What did I make of it?
By Katie McCabe, wasn't it? She just drags that team together, doesn't she?
Well, what I made of it was like Bristol City are crap. You know, they're bottom of the league with 1 point. You know, I mean, Arsenal played them off the pitch, but they're still struggling. I mean, it took 2 fairly screaming goals. Actually, the 3 goals were fantastic. Okay, you could say the keeper was at fault for Katie's second goal, but there was a defender straight in the way of her and it clipped off her. But Arsenal dominated the game, but they're struggling to convert play into goals at the moment. You know, I mean, against Villa, Katie gets a screamer. You can't be relying on screamers the whole time.
Yeah,
you've got to get the odd goal that's not a screamer. But look, they kind of after the shock of the European exit, the home defeat to Liverpool at the start of the season, they've steadied themselves, you know, and they're a good watch. Arsenal. They've got some lovely inside forwards that, you know, are always looking to get through channels, and they keep the ball on the deck, don't hoof it up the pitch, and they're a good watch. And they should have won by about 9 last night. Yeah. I mean, honest to God, Jonathan, Bristol City are crap.
That's come from the horse's mouth there. No, it's great to see Medema and Beth Mee back from their ACL injuries. I thought Russo had another good game as well last night. Unlucky not to get a couple herself. But it's a really good squad. Ida Vella's moulding there. What did you see? Did you see it yourself, Brendan?
No, I saw the goals. I'm just pulling you up there on the squad, because they've been castigated for being too white, not representing the diversity in the population, which I found.
Did he?
Yeah, it was in the papers today, and I think Arsenal have actually come out with a statement to say that they will try to rectify that as soon as possible, which
It's a bit
I
heavy
find,
isn't it? You know,
I think it's ridiculous. Like, I don't care what colour, creed, whatever anyone's playing for Arsenal are, or black, white, green, purple. I don't care. And most people don't care. So
absolutely.
And it's like, you pick your best squad. If they all happen to be blonde-haired and blue-eyed, so be it.
Hold on a second. Right? This is more media. The media hates the Arsenal. They've hated us since the 1930s. There's always something to pick. We are leaders in the field of promotion of equality and diversity. We've been doing it for 40, 50, 60 years, Brendan. You lived in a family who are immigrants in London yourself, right? Arsenal always led the charge. And in fairness to that other lot up the road, they weren't the worst either, right?
No.
There's certain clubs in London.
Yeah. Arsenal in the 1980s was the only club that had no national front. They weren't allowed anywhere near. Weren't allowed. So
they just weren't allowed. So
I find it a bit ridiculous, especially a club at Arsenal having to answer to allegations like that, which is ridiculous.
I'm telling you what those allegations are. That's some white middle-aged male Arsenal kicking journalist stirring up a shitstorm, and it's nonsense.
Yeah,
right. Arsenal will play anybody. Arsenal will play anybody, regardless of creed.
Just because they might have a favouritism to see an attractive blonde girl running.
Different nationalities they have at the moment in the women's team is ridiculous, isn't it?
But I'd like to see. By the way, I would imagine that the women's game, even though we have to say everything is equal, it's not. And the reason why it's not is the women's game is only coming into its own now. It has decades to make up on the men's game.
100%.
And I'm saying to you, look around the league and look at how many black players are playing in the league.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the same. So somebody's just had a pot shot at the Arsenal. Right?
It's a team photo. So, or squad photo.
The game is evolving, and I'm sure as it evolves over the next decade, the percentage of black players will rise and rise and rise, hopefully, and it will. And I'm sure that situation will organically rectify itself.
Absolutely.
It's only catching on really the last 3 or 4 years, the women's game, isn't it? Fairness, they're only getting the exposure, really over the last 3 or 4 years. Yeah. What did you make of the game, Henry, Brandon, aside from that?
I only saw the goals on Sky News. That was it. Yeah. I don't.
2 crackers.
I don't not follow them. I don't really. I just haven't really watched.
Yeah.
Many of their games. Like if they're on, I'll watch them.
Yeah.
But I have an 11-year-old son who's not a big fan of the women's games. So it's
Just being our last appearance on this show after that. Yeah. You're after upsetting all our viewers now.
I'm happy. He loves watching football. Yeah. That's great. I'm happy that he's watching men's football at the moment, and if he gets to the next stage, he wants to watch women's football. Good luck to him. So,
fair enough.
But I don't. I've watched snippets of them.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going great guns now again. Back-to-back victories now, and long may continue into the season. And Katie McKay.
Brendan said he just watched the goals. But I mean, if anybody, Brendan, you said you just watched the goals. But if anybody has their doubts about tuning into a couple of games, if you're doing nothing in the house and it's on, the Bristol City equaliser was as good a headed goal as you'll ever see.
It was a power header, wasn't it?
Oh, but power and direction.
Yeah, she met it beautifully though.
It was a beautiful. Yeah.
The cross, but the header was just, oh jeez, you wouldn't see it in the men's game. Yeah, what a header. It's great to see them playing in the men's grounds as well. You know, it is refreshing to see that, you know, they're getting a chance in the you know, and Arsenal are giving the Arsenal women pretty much every home game now when they can, yeah. So, and sell out crowds as well, which is great to see. And the standard of football is quite good as well. You know, it really is. I've only really taken out really interest in it now in the last season or two, you know, I won't lie, but yeah, the football show on a Sunday night after match day 2 is definitely well worth a watch, you know, straight after it, and you know, it's well worth to watch if you can, if you've got time to watch it. That was a busy show tonight, lads. Is there anything you'd like mentioned about the Dublin Arsenal Supporters Club or anything, or anything of note?
No, other than last week was all about Liam Brady. Full stop.
Yeah.
He spent his week in Dublin, legend, you know, and he was fantastic. I was at a book signing in Eason's on Saturday morning, and the reason why it took 2 hours to get to him was because he gave everybody time. You know, he was fantastic. And I was at the Mansion House last Wednesday for his off the ball show, and it was really, really, really entertaining. I might just tell one little story from it. He said that very early in his career at 17, he was picked up at Anfield near the end of the season to play. He expected to be 12th man, and Bertie Mee picked the team, and he was in it. And Bertie Mee left the dressing room to go off and have a drink with the directors or whatever. And all the players started laughing at him. And he said, when he's all laughing at, he said, "You're playing outside left." Yeah, what? He said, "Well, Tommy Smith is playing right full for Liverpool." So he said, "What does that mean?" Well, I think you'll find out. So he said, the first passage of the game, he turned Tommy Smith inside out, got a cross in, and he said, I was fairly pleased with myself until he heard these footsteps coming, saying, "Listen, you little Irish twat. I'm going to snap your leg in two if you do that again." But the bit that he did next was brilliant. He said, "So I just looked at him and then realised he meant it." You know. So he said he gave an exhibition of one-touch football after that. You know, yeah. But it was great. I mean, people who don't know Liam should never forget the impact he had on all of us of a certain age. He was just a magician for the Arsenal, you know.
Yeah, and he's sporting the bald head look like Eamonn now. So
where did he live, Eamonn?
What's that?
Where does he live?
Oh, he lives in England.
Brighton. He lives in Brighton.
Brighton.
Oh, does he?
Brighton. Yeah.
Yeah, he was manager there.
Yeah. I remember.
At the end of his career, wasn't he? Yeah. So, I'd like to see. I'd like to see a statue of him outside the Emirates. I think it would be well earned and well deserved for what he gave, and also to David O'Leary as well. You know, still the most capped Arsenal player. As I say. Well deserved.
As I say, get on with it.
What's it? Have you got it to book handy, Eamonn? Liam Brady.
What's that?
Do you have the book handy? Wish you did you buy the book?
Liam Brady?
Yeah.
Well, he wouldn't do a book signing if he didn't write a book.
Can I see the book? Since they're being smart.
Handy. I have it here. Yeah.
Eamonn was nicknamed Chippy as well.
My nickname was Chippy, and let's see, can we see this now?
Here we go.
There we go. If we get
hot off the press.
Read it out, Eamonn.
Too Chippy. Born to be a footballer, Brandon. Best wishes, Liam Brady. There you go.
That's a nice touch.
Fabulous. That's good to have.
Show the front cover there, Eamonn.
Got twins, isn't it? No, the other side. The other side. The back plate. The back bit. Turn it around. That's more like it.
Yeah.
I can see the comparisons right there. There's not much between.
I don't think you know what you're talking about, Brendan. You're there wearing your GAA tracksuit. I was banned from the school. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, born to be a footballer is out now. Named Brady. What a hero for Arsenal and for his time in Italy as well.
It is my reading material from Dublin to Gatwick on Saturday morning and then back on Sunday evening. So I'll have that book read.
It'll be up on adverts.ie on Monday morning.
Yeah.
It's a nice
yeah.
You can catch our show as always, lads and listeners, on the Dublin Arsenal YouTube channel. Thanks to Martin Stumble for editing and putting this up, as always. Spotify, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Check out our sponsor, Bannon Sports Direct and Luke and Housekeeping Services. Check out our friends at justarsenal.com. And for all the games throughout the season, go to the official supporters bar in Dublin City Centre, to River Bar. And thanks to my guests this evening, Eamonn and Brendan. Thanks, lads. It's been a busy show and pleasure to have you. And we'll be back next Monday to review, hopefully, another home success over Sheffield United. So until then, have a good week and thanks for listening.
Thanks, lads.
Yeah.